Hi, very good morning. It's Dean from maverickstar. You know what? I've not scripted this, just like I don't script any other my videos that I put up on YouTube. Very rarely do I even make some notes. I should have made some notes, I believe, in this video so I could keep it concise, but it'll come out the way it does. Just want to ask you, all the other people that you subscribe to on YouTube, do you actually feel like you know them? And it's on that basis that I want to do this video, because I want you to know a little bit about me, because I'm going to put my hands up and I'm going to invite you into the little world of Gene, and over the last some of the things that I've got up to over the last 15 years. And the reason why I'm doing that is I just want to be honest with you, because I don't think a lot of the others on YouTube are honest in any way at all. They've got their shops. I could do all this as well, by the way. I could make revenue on that. I don't want to take your money on encouraging you to buy things that you don't need. And every one of these people that are big on YouTube all have an angle to make money out of you. You know what? We've got just one thing now. We're saying, if you're interested in science and some of the developments in which we get involved with here now, it's over on Patreon. Cost you $5, which is not really enough to buy a large coffee in some countries. $5 is nothing. So, having said that, why don't I share some of my life experiences with you? Because, you've been subscribed to me, a lot of you, for over 10 years. And I really appreciate that. So, around 15 years ago is a few stories I'm going to divulge with you so you get to know a little bit about my background. So about 15 years ago, I was sat there on eBay, bored, and just being told by the guy who had won a rocket engine off, a real rocket engine, because obviously I'm a science nerd, I love anything like that. And I knew that when I was looking at this rocket engine that was on eBay auction, I knew that the British government had invested millions of pounds in developing this so that they could have what was called Blue Lightning rocket engine, which was the first rocket engine that would deliver a nuclear warhead. So I won it. I think I won it for a ridiculous amount of money. I think it was about £175. And I thought, whoa, first thing I'm going to do with this is get it probably dipped in trichlene ethylene, which is a cleaning fluid, which will bring up all those exotic metals like brand new, have it spray lacquered, and excuse me, put a nice glass lid on that and have it as a coffee table in my living room, because my mates know me, I'm nerdy science and I love things like that. But wouldn't that be great, I thought. Anyhow, the guy didn't honour it. So the next thing I was looking at was just in that arena of rocket engines, jet engines and things like that. I did, by the way, win the bid. He didn't honour it, which was sad, because I think I would have still loved to have seen that coffee table with that rocket engine. Didn't have the exhaust on it, because those things are used. The rocket exhausts are massive, but this was, the turbo that injected the fuel into the nozzle, and obviously was the main component of it. And it was, like I say, built with all these exotic metals like titanium and etc. So the next thing I come across was a Puma Sport microlight, a 2-seater microlight, and it was like £1,500. And I thought, I'm going to buy that, because at that time I was very much interested in flying model aeroplanes with the little nitro engines on them. And I got a friend who was well into it, had been into it, from his grandfather to his dad to him, and he was teaching me how to fly them. because everything up until that point that I'd brought RC related had just been buried in the dirt through crashing it. And he taught me how to fly them properly, and confidently. In the end, we both ended up buying helicopters, remote control helicopters with nitro engines on, and we were flying them around like, nobody's business, to the point where we'd get them up in the air, I would anyhow, fly them right up in the air, shut the throttle completely off, and almost auto-rotate the helicopter back down to the ground. So, seeing this microlight for sale for $1,500 was like, 1,500 sterling pound, was like an opportunity I couldn't resist. I had to buy it, and I immediately rang up my friend Richard and told him what I'd just brought, and he was so excited. Richard was the guy who was teaching me how to fly, who taught me how to fly these model airplanes. He was so excited, and we was both in the same model club out in Maxstoke, and he said, "You know what? I want to come with you, and I want to be there when you buy it and hand over the dough, and I want to bring it back." So you know what? I picked him up. We went off to Manchester to buy this microlight, and we was like kids, oh my god, we've got a real flying airplane, as opposed to buying these remote control things. Now we've become kings, and we own a real aircraft that can fly, and we can fly this. So and bear in mind, none of us got any flying experience. None of us have been trained at this point to fly these microlights, even though microlights aren't that hard of an aircraft to fly. It's pretty much a kite with an engine on it. So we've picked it up, and we're on the way back on the motorway, and look in the rearview mirror, there's a few blue lights flashing. So obviously I realised I'm being pulled over by police officers, so we pull over on the motorway, and I get out. I said, "What's the problem?" They say, "Look, we can't allow you to carry on down the motorway with that propeller turning round, because obviously we're doing about 60 miles an hour down the motorway with this on the trailer on the back of my car, and the wind's hitting the propeller and it's spinning round." Didn't even think about it. But the police officer said, "Look, you can't do that. You're going to have to do something with the propeller to stop it rotating." And he said to us also, "Guys, I can fly those things, and I want you to promise me that you are not going to try and attempt to fly that without any instruction at all." He said, "Because I have seen, the outcome of accidents with these microlights where people's legs have gone through the shoulder blades." And we said, no, we're not going to do that. So, what I did is I had a fluorescent jacket, a work jacket in the back of my car, and I put one sleeve over either side of the propeller, and we managed to tie it up to stop it spinning. And the police was happy with that, because we'd also made it reflective as well, so that people could see not just the lights on the car, they could also see this reflective jacket that was there. So we get back to Birmingham after a couple of hours drive, about 3-hour drive, and we both decided that the first thing we need to do in the morning is get this to our model flying club grounds, just on the outskirts in the countryside of Birmingham, and set it all up and just look at it. And of course, by this time, we're talking to other friends, and they're all getting to hear about this microlight that we've brought, and of course the excitement is equal as what our excitement is, me and Richard's. Anyhow, before we know it, there's like a football team of friends that have turned up on the model airfield, which is just a field for just people that use radio controlled aircraft. And we've got this real thing that can fly, and we're putting it together, we're assembling the wing. We've looked at the amount of fuel in the tank, as less than an inch of fuel in the tank, and the excitement is just crazy at this point, that there's an upright on the wing that's supposed to be assembled, and we couldn't figure it out, and we just threw these carbon fibre rods on the floor and didn't assemble the upright, which is like, the stabiliser thing that you see on the back of an airplane where the rudder's attached. We didn't do that. So, we've started it up. All our friends are like really excited. We've got this thing put together almost correctly. I would say now that it would not probably be in a flyable state, but it did fly, and that's probably what you're going to be more interested in as this story progresses. So, we've took it in turns going up and down the field, with this microlight engine running, only one at a time on there. It's got 2 seats. This is a Puma Sport microlight, which can take 2 people. But we're just, one at a time are on it. And, we're going up the field as, almost at the speed where, you could just push that bar forward on the microlight and get it to take off, but not quite. And, you can see, that male thing, that testosterone kicking in. I'm going to do better than you because you did that little bit and you went fast. And then, okay, I took it to the next level. So when it was my turn to get on it, I raced down the field and got the front wheel to lift up off the ground, but not quite lift the back wheels up. And I put it back down, and then I taxied back round, and then the next person on it was Richard. I could see it in his eyes that he was going to do better than me. There's obviously competition taking place now. And he raced off down the field. And then he pushed the bar as hard forward as he could. And the microlight did take off. And it got to over the height of a house roof top. And he realised he was flying. And we was all just watching this happen. And it was almost like time had slowed down. We saw Richard, we heard the engine idle. So obviously he at this point had realised he was flying and got a little bit shocked that the ground had left him. And then we saw Richard turn to the side and try to jump off at roof height from this flying microlight at this point, only to realise that he was held in by his seatbelt, and we saw him jerk as he tried to jump off. And it was at that point where the aircraft had run out of speed and went into a stall, and it sort of like tethered backwards and then, like a dart, went towards the ground, hit the ground. The propeller smashed to smithereens, splintering everywhere, the wings folding around Richard, and we were just shocked for a few moments, wondering, is he okay? Now, from Richard's point of view, he remembered before the engine stopped running and the propeller had obliterated. From his point of view at this moment in time, he can remember the engine whizzing round and the smashed prop going behind him and getting closer and closer to him as the airframe is buckled around him and the wing is draped over him. We at this point are running up the field to see if he's okay. And we get there with him upside down almost in the microlight, still fastened by the seatbelt. And we say, are you okay? He says, yes, I'm okay. But he's like, he's got that voice on, oh, I'm okay. But we know he's not. He's beat up a little bit. And we just see him press the buckle on the seatbelt and fall out the seat onto the floor. So we immediately pick him up, throw him in the back of the truck, on the back seat. We're concerned, obviously, that he's hurt himself, but he's not terminally ill, he's not bleeding or anything like that. He's just bruised and battered. Anyhow, there's a surveyor of the waterways comes over to us and says, what's going on? We say, oh, nothing, we're just packing up, we're going. And obviously the guy has witnessed everything that's took place. He saw this microlight take off, And he's asking where the pilot is, and we said, well, there was no pilot. The wind's caught one of the wings, and it's flicked it over on its side. We're just taking it back now. But you know, later on that afternoon, we managed to get off that field. There is another funny side of that, and I'll share it with you. But you know, we're all in the pub, and we're calling Richard now our Airfix model pilot. I don't know why we decided to do that, but we're all having a laugh and a joke, and he's got this big bruise across him where the safety strap was, and we're all just realising how stupid a thing we just did, and luckily got away without killing each other. But also this, you know, on that day, you know, after a few of us running the microlight up and down the field, we were saying to each other things that you just would not believe. We were saying, if you manage to take it off into the wind, just taxi it, you know, just fly it round, you know, in a little area. Make sure that when you're coming back into land, you're not going to hit the hedgerow down the bottom of the field, and you're going to be coming back into the wind, and just safely put it down. None of us had got an idea of flight at all. You know, this was as raw as the Wright brothers. You know, when they first discovered how to take flight, that was the same for us that day. You know, the other thing is that there was just in this, I think it was a 5-gallon fuel tank, there was probably slushing round in the bottom an inch, and that was at the start, and that was the only fuel in there. So maybe if one of us had managed to take it up into the air properly, and managed to, even without the vertical stabilizer being assembled on it, managed to control it, there would not have been enough fuel for even a small 1 mile square circuit. It would have run out of fuel. The other part of this story is that the model club found out what we did and banned us from flying our model RC aircraft there. And then later on we found out why they did it. It's because we'd left them all out of the opportunity to, you know, experience a real flying aircraft, because they would have all loved to have been part of that. You know, I don't even think, looking back on it now, that the wing was even suitable for flight. You know, I think it was that old that maybe the wing might have even ripped. I don't know. But we're very lucky, and we did something very stupid and got away with it. And, you know, we all live to tell the tale. It's a story that we all talk about to this point in time today and laugh about now, luckily enough. You know, how one of us could have easily died that day is just beyond me. And that's just one of the stories which I want to share with you, so that you get an idea of, you know, who I am, really who I am. Because I know that people won't share stories with you like that from other parts of the world on other channels on YouTube. And I know YouTube aren't interested in anything else other than regulating at this point in time. It's a shame, because it was a good platform where people could share experiences, knowledge, and a lot of other things. So I've decided to share some personal stories with you. Maybe in the next video I want to share with you, you know, my experience about Thailand last year and going to Egypt. And I'm sure there is a story there that I'm sure you'll be interested in. I really am. But meanwhile, if you're interested in the science aspects of what we do, please go over to Patreon. Become a member. It's not going to break your bank at all. $5 is affordable to everybody a month. That's not a lot of money. But you know what? You might get something more than that out of it. You know, we are the only internet website that is tracking regularly and monitoring the magnetic North Pole migration. We're also probably one of the only people that are trying to share ideas, real ideas, whether they work or not, with regards to new territory in energy production. And I haven't yet got round to it, and I'm hoping to, over the next week or so, do that experiment where we run iron wind through the hydrogen cell to see if we can replace hydrogen on that side of the cell. If that works, guys, you know, we change everything from this moment on. I think it's got a good chance. You know, I am interested to, you know, what I'm doing right now is just pushing ideas around how to capture the iron wind and inject it into that side of the hydrogen fuel cell. If it works, you know, we've made a massive breakthrough. And if it doesn't, yeah, then we've done something just as equally as good, is that we found another way where something doesn't work and we move on to something else. Simple as that. And I've spent a lot of my life, if you guys know me and you've been following me for a long time, you know I've spent a lot of time looking at all these ideas where people claim, you know, 0 point energy. I don't pay any attention to perpetual motion, because it's simply the only perpetual motion I understand that is at this point in time that you could classify really as perpetual motion is maybe the sun. But the sun will eventually run out of it, and for that reason it's not perpetual motion. You know, it will run out of, you know, the method in which it produces heat. And I'm not going to get into the argument of saying it's nuclear fusion, because I don't think we completely understand everything we see about everything in our lives. But the Earth certainly rotates every 24 hours. And has been doing that for millions and millions of years. And you could say that that was semi-perpetual motion, at least, because I know eventually, you know, it will slow down, but not definitely in our lifetimes. And we only want things that work in our lifetimes. And that's why I spend a lot of time invested in looking at all these things and, you know, finding out for myself whether they're true claims or not. I want you to stay with me, guys. The reason why I shared, you know, story like today with you guys is because I want you to know, you know, that I'm not just about maths, I'm not just about science and chemistry and physics and all that. You know, there's a real person behind me, you know, that has done some crazy things just as much as what you have. And please feel free to tell me in the comments section. But I want to share a few things with you, just from my life experience. I've been on this planet 50 years. And I've learned a few things. And I've certainly shared a lot more than what a lot of other people would have with you. That's because I want you to know what I know. Be it, you know, the universal equation, that strange mathematics that shows us that there's something else being demonstrated to us. We just need to know where to look, how to use it, how, you know, what it represents. You know, these are foundations and lessons in life that you cannot overlook just simply by, you know, thinking that they're coincidences. You know, these things I want to share with you, and I want to keep the science going because it's my passion. My first passion is science, and the second one is food, and the third is, you know, I have to say, I like women. I do. I don't cheat on women when I'm with them. I don't know what's going on with me. You know, I've gone through that many relationships last year. It was unbelievable. But you know what? I'm the first to put my hands up and say, you know what? I'm not perfect. Which is not what you're going to get from a lot of people on YouTube, which are trying to make out that they are. I'm not in it for the money, because if I was, I'm much smarter than a lot of people, and I could have done a lot more. You haven't seen ever once one Kickstarter generated by me. The truth is, you know what? I'm just happy to experience what I can in life, and I don't particularly need, you know, millions of pounds or massive amounts of assets to do that. You know, I pretty much float. So, hope you enjoyed the video today. I hope I haven't bored too many of you. And, you know, you take care of your loved ones. We're in strange times. As always, bye for now.